All right, no pressure. All right, we're back with our next episode of the Sprinkler Repair Pros podcast. I'm here today with Lacy Kramer, a longtime friend. She is currently my insurance agent for all things insurance. I'm excited to have her on the podcast. This is really cool. I'm looking forward to hearing her story. I've known her for a long time, but don't know too much about her other than, just interacting, as people do. So I'm excited to hear how you got to where you're at in the insurance business, learn a little bit about your personal life as well, and kind of go from there. So I'll let you take it from here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I own Superior Choice Insurance Agency. I'm based in Needville, Texas, but I write all over the state of Texas. Jason invited me here to, learn about the insurance industry and owning a business in general and how fun it can be.
Yeah, fun for sure.
Yeah.
It's a good word.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's start off a little bit with your personal life. Tell us a little bit about your family, and then we'll kind of bounce on from there.
Okay. I have 3 kids. My oldest daughter's 9, and I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they keep me on my toes. Honestly, I started my business as my kids were getting older, and they were getting more expensive. I had to find a way to, just be sure they were always taken care of. Nothing's, easy, I guess, when it comes to kids. I would say with extracurricular activities, living. As time has gone on, obviously it's gotten worse. But I had to do something different than just working for someone else and collecting a paycheck and waking up in the morning, knowing where I needed to go, coming home. It's really not for me. I like to be challenged. I like learning, and what better way to do it than starting a business? I've been in insurance since I was, I think I started working for my grandma when I was in middle school, and 2019 is when I decided to open my own agency. It's all I know when it comes to a career, so was the best bet for me. It wasn't easy, but what is, I guess.
Well, that's what you said was number one, raising kids is a lot like running a business. They're one and the same, and a lot of people refer to their business as their other child as well too, because no matter how well of a plan you have laid out, it never goes that way. And I think a lot of us business owners, myself as well, we kind of feel that calling at some point to, go out on our own, because the risk that you take owning your own business, although it's scary and it's, nothing is for sure, the idea of getting up every single day and working for somebody else, for some, is very difficult. And myself included, I had a couple jobs before I started my own business, and I was missing something. I was waking up every day just clocking in for a paycheck. And although that's very rewarding for a lot of people, if you put in the time and the effort, you can advance to a really high position. But that opportunity to start your own business, I think, is something that calls to us entrepreneurs. And so that's awesome. And I'm glad that you did end up getting into your own business, because I feel like in my short experience in business for the past 14 or 15 years, I've gotten really good service from you from an insurance standpoint. You're very easy to get a hold of. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in partners that I work with, is not me having to call you, but you reaching out to me as well too, and say, hey, your policy's coming up for renewal, and just all the little things that happen on a day-to-day basis. So far I've been very impressed with working with you, and this is part of the reason why I wanted you to come on the show. So tell me a little bit. You mentioned that you started when you were 12 years old or whatever, working with your grandparents in the insurance industry. What are just some of the challenges and the hurdles that you've had to go through from going from working for your family to then now starting your own business, seeing it from the other side?
Well, when I started in the industry, it was definitely different. Premiums were $800 a year to insure your home, and now they're $8,000 for some, $9,000 for some, depending on the value of your home and what you have. But what folks don't realize is in 2004, your home was $150,000, and now you can't rebuild a home for that.
No.
Maybe a fourth of one, depending on where you do live. But majority of, I'd say, median dwelling coverage that I have is probably $450. So if you take that $800, and when it was a $150,000 home and now it's $450,000 home, the rates really aren't that bad. But it takes someone to really sit down and think about that for them to realize, versus just opening their mail and seeing their declaration page and seeing the premium, and then everybody's mad. So what's happened for me, the biggest hurdle that I've found now is not necessarily running a business, because honestly that's the easy part. Staying on top of your finances, your accounting, your management system, you have programs to run that for you, or people that run that for you. So that's really not the hard part. The hard part is juggling, keeping people happy, and keeping a personable relationship with people, especially when they're angry. Because I'm now up there with the tax guy. I'm not,
100%.
I'm not just Lacy. I'm, somebody that you call when you get angry because you have to pay me, well, not me, but the carrier, way more money than you want to. So juggling, being keeping it professional, I guess, and trying to explain to people like, hey, you may not understand this, even though you should, but you may not understand this, but this is why, the industry is the way it is. That's my hurdle now.
Educating
the client about insurance, and nobody wants to hear it anyway, so it's kind of.
Well, insurance, as a business owner, insurance is definitely an expense, right? It's not something that's ever going to make you money.
Right.
But it's when you need it.
Right.
It's there. I've heard from some of my friends that I've heard some crazy stories where, they have monster policies and something bad happens, and it's like having the insurance is the difference between being able to stay in business,
right,
and being like flat broke with nothing left.
But see, folks don't understand that unless they know something's happened to, or unless it's happened to them themselves, because honestly, 50% of people think that insurance is a scam.
Yeah.
And that hurts me. Honestly, I love insurance so much. It's all I know. It is my baby, So to hear someone say insurance is a scam, it's like, gosh, well, you must not know anybody that's ever really needed it, or you've never been in a situation where you've really needed it.
Well, your home's never flooded. I mean, if you think, for example, flood insurance, right? If you think flood insurance is a waste of money, well, as soon as your house floods, you're going to be wishing you had it, right? And so it's really, anytime you're in a scenario, I would assume, where you're dealing with like worst case scenario, I think that a lot of that times that goes with like sprinkler system repairs as well too. Like nobody's ever happy to wake up and call the sprinkler repair guy to come out because they got a geyser shooting up in their front yard, or a plumber or an electrician, right? Like, but when you need the guy and you call them and they get your power back on, like you're willing to, you're saying, okay, well, maybe that's why I need them here,
Right.
So again, insurance is something for me, although I haven't had any significant issues. It's always nice to know that you're covered, because you just never know what's going to happen out there. Being a business owner, people will target you because you're a business. You have vehicles on the road with your logo on them. And there's a lot of people out there who are looking to get something from somebody else. And if you're not covered, then you're always kind of left out there. So tell me a little bit too about something we had discussed recently. We purchased a new home, and homeowners insurance is like, you mentioned the policies being a lot higher. There's a lot of companies that aren't even writing homeowners insurance policies in Fort Bend County right now because of all the catastrophic events we've had recently. Is that something that is common, or is this like a new thing?
Well, there were many carriers in the state of Texas that were willing, and then as weather-related catastrophes actually have gotten really bad. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, back when your great-grandfather would go outside and fix his roof himself, right? Or fix his fence himself, or anything, right? They were very hands-on.
Absolutely.
As the world has progressed and we've gone on, we have gotten lazy, and we're not going to go fix our roof ourselves, and we're not going to go fix our fence ourselves. We're gonna call the insurance carrier, and we're gonna file a claim, and we're gonna get paid $6,000 or whatever it may be. We're gonna pay our deductible, and we're gonna fix all these little things that need to be fixed that we could very well do ourselves. We don't want to.
Absolutely.
So the carrier's going to fix it, and then the carrier's going to fix your neighbors and yours and everybody's, and it's just the world is different now.
There's not enough money there to cover everything, basically.
So it depends on who you're talking to. Some people think that insurance is a scam, right? And insurance carriers just have all of these monies. But if you really dig into it and you really do your research, you will see the losses that they have every single year, some in the billions of dollars. And there have been, I don't know, 4 since 2022 that have gone bankrupt and closed their doors. They're mainly based out of Florida. And then obviously if they're going to take the Florida risk, they're also going to take the Texas risk.
Yeah.
So they were open to writing in Texas, and they're not. UPC, United Property Casualty, FedNat, Mason, I don't know, I mean, I could.
Well, I know, for example,
list
and
many, but,
State Farm is not writing homeowners insurance policies
right, they
in
have
Fort Bend County.
to wage
Correct.
their risk.
Yeah.
Fort Bend is a very risky county. Anywhere on the coast, we are considered coastal, even though we think we're 45 minutes away from the coast. Why are we coastal? We are. A lot of carriers, even on commercial risks, if you have a metal building in Houston, they won't offer hail coverage. Windstorm, hail, it's not a higher deductible, it's just not being offered. It's getting really tough, and I don't know the answers. I guess I did bring up, people back when would fix things themselves instead of filing claims on insurance. That's never going to happen again. Honestly, we're busy. Not only are we lazy, some of us aren't, but we're busy. It was a one-income household then. Now it's a two-income household. And sometimes people with two incomes can't even make it. So it's a different world that we live in. But what really bothers me is that deductibles are so high that there really is no point in filing a claim, right? So what I'm kind of telling people right now, I don't know what's ever going to happen to the insurance market. I don't know if it's going to get better. I don't know if it's going to get worse. Keep your deductibles high. The money that you save in premium by keeping your deductibles high, set it aside. And if you ever do need to file a claim, use it for catastrophic events. Insurance is not for aggravation. It's not because something is, irritating you, or an irritant, I guess. It's not for something that's aggravating you. It's for devastation. It's for a total loss. It's for, there is absolutely no possible way that I can do this on my own. That's what insurance is for, and everybody's forgotten that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's, watch what I say. But I think that's a big part of why the industry is the way that it is today, is because everyone's using it just for every little thing. Rock chips in their window, but the carriers are offering these things. The carriers are offering $50 a glass deductible or $0 glass deductible to go get your rock chip fixed. Well, guys, that's a claim. That's going to follow you. I don't care what anybody says. It's going to follow you for 6 years, and you're going to pay for that windshield over the 6-year term.
20 times over.
Right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
now if you stay with the same carrier, they're not going to really count it against you because it's a comp claim. But as soon as that rate goes up, you're going to call me and you're going to say, hey, Lacy, my insurance rate went up. What are you going to do? Well, you have 6 comp claims. That didn't count against me. Well, not with that carrier, but this carrier is going to rate it as a claim, and it is going to count against you.
Absolutely.
It's a money thing. They have big fancy systems to calculate their rates and things that I know nothing about. But I don't know. I don't know when there's an insight on things getting better. Just I really haven't seen a shift much in commercial. I will say that. It's just personal lines, home insurance, auto insurance.
Well, I definitely, it's something I hadn't thought about. The concept as a business owner, understanding that you have to make money to hedge your bets against those types of situations. So if 40 years ago the average person would claim X amount per year, and now they're claiming 10X because, like you said, the aggravation, they don't want to go out and they don't want to replace. Like for me, when I got a chip in my windshield on my car, I just went and bought like a little repair kit for $25 and fixed it. It hasn't spread ever since, right? Now, again, you could use your insurance for that and get a new windshield and everything, but yeah, that adds up when you have multiple vehicles. And now too, everybody has so much more stuff. I mean, I've had this discussion before with friends and parents and whatnot that 30 years ago, there was the same amount of stuff, but less at the same time, right? We didn't have the cell phones, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all these extra expenses every single month that we were spending our money on. It was just basically simple, like you said.
Simple life.
You worked, you raised your kids, you went out to eat maybe once a week, twice a week. I mean, I go out to eat twice a day, on a bad day, right? So there's just so many more things happening. We're busier. We don't have the time to do those little things that we would have said, hey, why am I going to spend $500 on this when I can fix it for $50? But now it's like people would just rather
pay someone else
to do it, which is good for me. In the sprinkler system repair business, it's good for me because, hey, a lot of these things people could do very easily.
Right.
But
well, if I can make more money on my own and have someone else do what I need done, I'd rather pay
100%.
the other person to do what I need done and go be successful, doing what I do, what I know how to do, what I'm
Absolutely.
good at. And that's just kind of
And
my,
then spend your time, instead of spending your time fixing something, you're working, making more money.
right.
Going out there and getting more clients. So awesome. Well, another question that I had for you is, in the insurance industry, there's multiple different types of insurance, right? You've got residential policies, you've got commercial policies, you've got home policies, auto policies. Do you find that there's one particular sector of the business that's more complicated, that you spend more time on, or are they all pretty much similar across the board?
No, nothing's the same. Commercial is definitely more tedious. The questions, I mean, the millions of questions that I have asked you. But a lot of people get irritated with me. Some insurance agents will write a policy not asking any questions, and that's great for them. Me, I need to know absolutely everything, and it's because I need to know what type of risk you really are. Not for me, but one, for the carrier who is protecting you, but really it's for yourself. It's for your family and for your business. You don't want to go start this business and become successful and then have it all taken away. And that's what insurance is for. Some folks don't realize insurance is to protect your assets. It's not because the state's making you have it, or whatever you may think. It's literally to protect everything that you have. Your insurance limits need to protect your assets. So whatever your assets may be, you need to have your insurance limits high enough to protect them. Because what happens is, if you're found liable for something, somebody's going to sue you, and their attorney is going to know absolutely everything about you by day's end, and their attorney is going to want to take away absolutely everything from you. So if you don't have the insurance limits to cover these things, you're kind of in a bind. So that's why I ask a million questions, and that's why commercial takes so long, because it's important. It's that you've worked this hard to start where you have started and to have what you have, and somebody could take it away in an instant. And it may not even be your fault, especially if you have other people working for you and they're out driving a vehicle with your brand on it. It's a very scary thing, and that's why not everybody owns business, because it's very risky. And not many people want to take on that risk.
Well, it's one of those things too, where, like we kind of already mentioned, but you don't think about those things. They're kind of out of sight, out of mind, right? On a day-to-day basis, what I'm focused on is managing my team and growing my revenue.
Right.
I'm not thinking about what can happen. Obviously, it's in the back of your mind, but that's what this is for. And someone like yourself who's been in the industry for 20 plus years, 25 years, or however long it may be. You're going to know those things. I'm sure when you were growing up and you were around it, you heard stories, you heard, your family members and employees there talking about these things. And so from my perspective, right, like I'm not an insurance guy. I don't really know anything about insurance. So if I'm going to work with somebody, I want to know that they have me covered. And they're not just asking like, okay, I can understand if you had 5,000 customers, you're going to have a team to take on those customers, right, as you scale your business. But I think a lot of agents out there, they focus on, quantity and not necessarily quality. You got to have both, right? Obviously to be successful, but it is your job. I would assume you are educating your customers on a day-to-day basis. And, a lot of times too, it's kind of in one ear and out the other, but if you don't ask those particular questions, and I'm sure you've had people who have, blatantly lied to you about things too, because they want to keep their premiums lower, or they try to downplay what they have or their assets or the liability, and that can be a huge issue too, because you almost have to be kind of like a forensic investigator in that regard, like, because you don't want to put yourself on the line either.
Right.
Right. If you tell the carrier, hey, this guy is doing this and he's doing something completely different, like
right.
it could.
That's why there's audits. So everyone also that owns a business gets really frustrated at audits when it comes to workers' comp. They audit your payroll, and then when it comes to general liability, they'll also, it depends on what you're rated on, but they'll ask you your payroll and your sub costs. Are they insured? Are they uninsured? The millions of questions, your gross revenue, and you get audited, and they want your actual income, but your taxable income. So they want to see your taxes, or they want to see a profit and loss.
Absolutely.
And a very good insurance carrier is going to audit you. It just is what it is. Well, I have clients that are like, I don't want to be audited. Do not audit me. That's not
your
an
choice.
option. So back when you could own a business and you could say, well, I make $200,000 a year, and the carrier would say, okay, and move on about their day, right? Well, now, obviously the world's different, as I've said a million times, but they're going to audit because they need you to prove that you make what you said you make, because your risk is based on your income. So your risk at I make $2 million a year versus, or gross $2 million a year, sorry, versus grossing $200,000 a year, that is a big difference
Huge.
for the carrier to see. But people would rather say I make $200,000 a year because their rate's going to be lower.
Like you said, they don't see the value in the insurance.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I don't have clients like that.
in the past, definitely not on this side. In the past, I've had, I believe it was either workers' comp or general liability. I think it was our workers' comp. In the past, right, we would just estimate at the beginning of the year, and you know, when the audit comes, you're always going to owe money unless you do less than you expected. And I like that there's options. Like the way we prefer to do it now is we pay, I don't know if it's quarterly or monthly, quarterly based on our actual payroll. So at least in that regard, we're not getting hit at the end of the year with any. There's no surprises.
End of the
Like
year is the worst time to be hit with bills.
Absolutely.
It's like, I have Christmas, okay.
I'd rather just,
I
and
gotta
it used to be
stand
like that with sales tax. When I first started my business, I didn't even know sales tax was a thing. My uncle mentioned to me about, hey, you know, I got another quote and they had sales tax. I was like, that's, why would they have sales tax, right? And so we would, at the end of the year, it's like you get audited and 27, I think one year I owed like $27,000 in sales tax. I hadn't even charged for it. And I don't even think I had $2,700, right? So same type thing. It's, you know, there's options when you're working with an insurance agent that's experienced where you can, you know, instead of trying to get behind, you just pay it based on how it comes. Now, obviously, revenue, right? We always estimate our revenue growth, and I'd always try to estimate higher than, you know, just to make sure that at the end of the year you don't owe any money. You're better off like getting a little bit of a return than the other way around for sure. But again, that's something that somebody who's experienced will say, you know, hey, how much do you think you're going to do? What did you do the year before? And you can actually spend a little bit of time analyzing that. Say, hey, you did 600 last year, you did 800 this year, you're going to do $1 million this year. Let's estimate a little bit higher so you don't have a bill at the end of the year. I think paying a little bit more per month is easier, you know, than
being stressed and having to come up with money at the end of the year.
Absolutely. So awesome. Well, so you said you started your business in, you said 2019?
2019.
So 5 years in.
Yes, almost. So 2020 was wild. That was COVID, right?
Yeah.
So I opened my business in November. I quit my job, my other job, in October, and I cried for like 2 months because it was family. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to live. I applied for a few jobs, but I was like, I can't work for someone. Like I'm not that kind of person for many reasons. Not just, it's just me. I have to work for myself. Anyways, I cried for a really long time. I prayed. I was like, I just need to know what I need to do, you know. And I sat down and talked to a few people and realized that the best bet that I had, whether it was a good one or not, I don't know, you know, obviously I know now, but at the time I didn't know what I was thinking. I Googled how to open an insurance agency in the state of Texas. Literally, I Googled it and I printed it out. I don't know what kind of article I found, but I printed it out. I went home and I, you know, highlighted and got things together, and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm only gonna pray. I don't know how, but this is what I'm gonna do, and I am so glad that I did. It took probably 3 months to kind of get everything situated, you know, and there's so many moving factors in it. Right. Oh no, that's where I'm going. Is I opened my agency, I found my office, I got settled. I think my oldest was starting kindergarten. I think, yeah, it was her first year in school, and COVID hit March, and we were all sent home because my kids couldn't go to school after it was spring break, and then everybody got sent home. So I was literally running a business. I think Cohen was turning a year old. So I had, you know, a daughter under a year. I don't even know how old Kate was, 5, at home, answering the phone, trying to make sure that I made money and explaining to these people, I'm so sorry, you know, the baby crying in the background, but, you know, underwriters and customers, and I'm like, but we're all stuck at home. But I think it was easy because everyone was,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So I really don't know if I did really great for being, you know, for being the situation I was in the first year in business. I did really great. And I don't know if it's because I wasn't home and I could, like, you know, I had a routine, like I was able to focus, like I couldn't go anywhere. Nothing was a distraction. I was working, sometimes until 3 or 4 in the morning, you know, like I was focused and working, and I was at home. But that was wild.
It was tough for everybody. I remember for us being in the service industry, having to worry about like the PPE, and luckily we were still getting calls. I was still doing landscaping at that point, and I hadn't figured out my path to profitability and really making money at that point. But that COVID was like threw like a wrench in everything. And
still does.
And that was at that point too. I mean, that was it's crazy that it's been almost 4 years since then.
Yeah.
I mean, property values have skyrocketed since then. Insurance rates have skyrocketed. I went and bought a bag of dog food yesterday, and it was like $97.
So my friends, we went to Frio last weekend, and my friend's the wife is my friend, and she was telling her husband the food was $90.
Yeah.
And he was like, "No way, you're crazy." And she was like, "No, it was $90." And
It's crazy. It used to be $60.
I don't know. I mean, don't even get me started on that stuff. We can't talk about it. I can't talk about that on
You can't get into
any kind of
politics,
live
yeah.
program because no.
Yeah, it was a tough time though. But 5 years. I don't know the exact percentages, but they say most businesses do not make it 5 years.
Right.
Most businesses never make it to $1 million in revenue. Most businesses never make it 5 years. So first off, congratulations to making it 5 years. That's incredible. I know like there's something that I've said it a million times, and I'll probably say it a million more times. There's so many different aspects of running a business. I'm sure you can, this is the same discussion I've had with lots of people. You go to a restaurant, they have great food, great service, great everything, and they close.
Right.
There's so many things you have to do running a business to stay successful and to stay in business. And providing good service, being accountable, those things are very important, but making money as a business is almost the most important thing. Like you can't make money without the other things, but you can definitely have the other things without making money. And so just to make it 5 years is incredible, and most people are not able to do that. So
I have about 10 left in me.
Well, hey, you grow it, and then you have an exit plan, and you go from there.
Yeah. It's really exhausting. I've aged, mentally and physically. I'm taking care of myself way better physically, but the first 2 or 3 years of running my business really put me in the ground.
There's nothing else. You just don't think about
mentally and
anything
physically.
else.
No, I mean it just ran me ragged. It was really hard, and I have, and the kids. No, I love my kids. Nothing's their fault, right? But it was hard.
Well, it's 2 jobs. It's 2 full-time jobs. You don't. It's not like you get to you work all day and then you just get to go home and relax. Like my wife takes a lot of the burden from me by handling that aspect of our life. We have 2 and 1 on the way, and so we're gonna have like a 1-year-old and an infant and a 9-year-old. But at least during the day, I don't really have to worry about that aspect of it. However, when I get home, it's like she's like passing.
Circus.
Take your son.
Welcome to the circus.
Take your son. And so it's very difficult. But like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, there's a lot of synergies to raising a family and running a business, and you have
a happy medium.
Exactly, and you have to be present when you're with your kids. You have to be present with your kids, and that's the hardest part is when you've got things going on for work. Because a lot of times when you're at work, if the stuff's going on with your kids, you're going to think about them. But the hardest part for me has always been when I'm at home, especially because of cell phones, like putting that thing away, and it's very difficult.
We live in an instant gratification world, and that you asked about the struggles in the industry, and I forgot that. But everyone wants it right now. Everybody, anything though, not just insurance. I mean, anything in this world, instant gratification. Right now, we need it, and I'm like, insurance is not an instant gratification thing. I'm not a robot. You're not a robot. Nobody's a robot, right? But people forget that. And I have, in the last year, now that I am successful and I do have my book of business and I am happy with where I'm at, I have begun to just, those people, like you emailed me Monday and you don't hear from me Monday at 5 o'clock because you emailed me, I'm sorry. Like pick up, if it's an emergency, please call me, right? And I will be there for you every step of the way. But because you emailed me Monday and I didn't respond to you by Monday at 5 and you're emailing me Tuesday morning at 6 a.m., please go find another insurance agent. Like I'm one person and there is no instant gratification in my life. I can't do it. And that's one thing that I have guts now. I didn't when I opened because I was desperate. How am I going to make it? What am I going to do? And now I've got guts. So
that definitely resonates with me as well too. I think that's kind of part of progression and growth is you start to understand. At the beginning you'll like take on anything. My good example would be if I was going to somebody's house when I first started to like mow your grass, and you say, well, my guy does it for $25. I'm like, I'll do it for $23.
Right.
It's like, well, the guy doing it for $25 is not making money,
right.
and I'm definitely not gonna make money at $23.
Right.
Then you get to a point where, like with our business, it's like, hey, it's gonna cost $100. Well, my guy said he can do it for $40. Okay.
Right.
Great. Well, let us know if you need us.
Right.
Type thing.
And people have to realize your value.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't come with money. My value does not, money is not everything. It's truly, truly not. I didn't open an insurance agency to become a millionaire. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just what I love to do. And if people don't realize my value and what I'm doing for my career, go find someone else.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Google insurance agent in the state of Texas. There are 8 million. You know, I'm not worried about it.
Absolutely.
But if somebody doesn't realize your value over your dollar, then you don't need them as a client.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of one of those things I know what to bring to the table. So.
And that's good though when you get to that point where you don't have,
Right.
you're not necessarily so, like you said, desperate.
It is a
for the
desperation
business.
for sure.
And it's good because at the same time, so obviously we want all the business that
Right.
we can have, but there, you set a standard and
Quality.
you say, hey, this is our process, this is our procedures, and if you'd like to work with us, great. If not, and that's kind of part of it too. I think from a sales perspective, in anything, whether you're selling sprinkler system repairs or cars or insurance, the more desperate you seem, right, the less value that you bring, and so really, I think. You're not really even in sales, right? We're not really in sales. It's not about, people think, well, a salesman. You're really just offering a service, and hey, this is how we do it. We'd love to work with you. Give us a call, type thing. It's not about being pushy and following up. Hey, I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks. What's going on? Like, if people want to work with you, they'll work with you.
I've never done that. I've never once in my career ever been pushy. I might email someone, hey, when I first started, hey, I emailed you, quote, 3 days ago, haven't heard back. Any questions, let me know. I don't follow up. And that's bad. Like in my industry, not following up is not a good thing, but I'm one person, so it's like, I'm not gonna pressure myself or kill myself either over gaining business. I've been super blessed with referrals. That has just kept me afloat and it's been wonderful. So I really haven't had to be pressured, right? That's not me though either. I don't know if you had to do that when you opened, but
there was an aspect of it where there was a point in time where even like the verbiage in my emails
was pressure.
Was like desperate, and not really pressure, but desperate, because it's like, oh hey, please call me if you need anything. I'd be happy to answer your questions, and then like is there anything we can do to help you? Like,
or don't
what
hesitate, or I'm always here. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I even sent you a text message. I think with like a screenshot.
Me?
Like a year ago, I believe so, like a year ago, because there was an insurance guy that had called me, and I told him I wasn't interested, and then he fired off like this email to me that was super passive aggressive, and I sent it over to Lacy, and I was like, there's people like this that are out there,
right?
And
I think I remember reading it, and I was like, is this supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? Like, I didn't know how to take what you said, and I'm like, is he trying to tell me I need to be that way? Because I need to find the way I am, but I don't know.
The guy was like, hey, I noticed that, you didn't really want to hear my spiel, and it was just super passive aggressive. And it was cool. The reason I sent it to you was because my first thought was, I'm glad that Lacy's not like this, right? Because that's not, but again, you could sense that this guy's like under pressure, and he's probably working for a big agency, and they're like, hey, you got to get this much business, or else you don't get your quota.
It's so sad.
And that's what's difficult. And when you're working with a business, now me and Mike talk about this all the time, how America has become like this, almost like this corporate juggernaut, right? It's very, very hard for the small business owner out there to succeed, because there's always somebody who's got 1,000 people, and but the values, the American values that I believe still do exist here, in this country in some aspect,
in the core,
the small business owners supporting people that local, is still very important. And I know even like even a company like Walmart, they're hiring everyone that works for Walmart is local, right? They all live here, but like, how many businesses got put out because they came in, and now with stuff like Amazon, everybody can just, like you said, immediately, people want stuff like in 2 hours, and you can get it. It's crazy without even leaving your house. So going to stores like Best Buy and Target and stuff like that, they're not, back when we were kids, like those places would be packed.
Right.
And now you go in there and it's like, hey, there's like nobody.
I'm taking my kids school shopping after this, so I'm like, I do not.
I can only imagine how expensive that's going to be too.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, so what you were saying, like I guess the economy is not made for small businesses. I will not hire anyone W-2 because I'm terrified of payroll taxes. Doesn't that? That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I've been just fine, and I am to the point where I do like I had 2 super amazing girls working for me. They were 1099. Insurance industry is very cutthroat right now. It's very difficult. It's very hard. First year is always hard. You don't go into this industry making tons of money at first. It takes, time and renewals and, it's a head game. It truly is. And you've got to be in it, all in it, or you're not going to succeed. Okay? Period. That's just the way it works. Anyways, I'm to the point where I need an assistant. And I need to pay someone to help me. And they need to be on W-2. I am so scared to do that. I don't want to do it. I do payroll taxes eat you alive?
Not really. It's just, yes, probably, but it's just part of it now. It's just part of it. But I will say that, for example, as I've grown over the past 15 years, there's been lots of different things in my business that I had that similar feeling towards, where I'd be like when one of my employees started driving my first truck, I was like, oh, that's my truck, it's my baby. Now it's just like the truck doesn't mean anything.
I know. It's not about the truck. It's about all the things that come with the truck.
Absolutely, and the liability, and like you said, the payroll, and But I can guarantee you this from my experiences as an experience share, having somebody there to help you will. Although yes, there's going to be a cost associated with that.
Right.
It'll free up your time so much more.
Right.
Potentially to go out there and make more money.
Right.
Mike is not. Mike Meagle, his role here is very vast. He's like my right-hand man. We do everything together, and he's been able to take so many things off of my plate. It's just incredible. And Mike also was a business owner, and so he understands like what it takes. And a lot of times with an employee, like you said, you get an employee and you're gonna worry about all those aspects, and they're just gonna they'll quit without giving you 2-week notice or whatever. But you got to go into everything with the best of intentions, and that's what I've always told everybody. I've never hired anybody expecting them to not work out. Unfortunately, for the most part, it doesn't work out. Right. And so it's very hard to find those unicorns out there. But I think for me, having someone to help me has played a big role and allowed me to kind of free my time up to do other things. So, hello. So this is live. We're watching this. This is
Oh, let's go. Right here. Sorry.
That's fine. This probably won't get edited, but Lacy's daughter is here watching us. So we have a live audience today. That was cool. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Live. I'm
Oh,
fine.
shoot.
Okay, hold on.
I can pause it. If you
Yes, do you mind?
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
go ahead. We can pause it. I can combine it. I'll cut that part out.
Okay, come on, Tony. Yeah, sorry.
All right, we're back. We're back with part
Part of
2.
running a business, all the disturbances of children.
Like you said, this is what we're living for, and so I think she just wanted to be on the episode, so we'll let her get on there. So here's a question I thought about, and something I think would be cool to answer, and maybe I can hold you accountable to this.
Okay.
What's your plan? What's your goal for the next 3 to 5 years, 10 years? I know you said you probably got about 10 years left.
I do have, no, there's no probably.
There's probably.
Yeah, I'm done.
What is your goal?
So my goal is to grow my book of business. So the way an agency works, right? Some people want big grand things, right? Like there's tons of agencies in Houston that are just massive. I'm really content with what I do. I'm really content doing it all. I don't ever intend to become a massive agency. Some people, that is what that's their goal. Not me. My goal is to be myself and grow my book of business. And then when I get to something that's comfortable, so when agents sell their book of business, you sell it based on what your commission is per the year, and you get a percentage of that commission when you sell. So I know, where I want to be in order to get the income that I would like, which would essentially be my retirement. And then I'm done. I'm not going to be done because I never can't not work, but I'm done with insurance.
You get that percent every year moving forward?
No,
or
so
just
most of
one
the time, like one of the bigger people that wanted to do something different with their lives, right? They'll come and they'll buy your book of business. You have to be organized, right? So your management system, there's so many moving factors into selling an agency. Sometimes the bigger people do want you to have an operable business with humans and all these things, but sometimes people are content with just buying. Hey, Superior Choice Insurance wants to sell. We've got say $5 million in premium, $6 million in premium, whatever it may be. what are you gonna offer me? Here's my taxes, here's my, profit and loss, here's my management system, here's all the things, here's my, loss ratio, and then they pay you and you move on. If a younger person wants to come in and buy the book of business so they can continue growing it and run the business, more than likely, yes, they will pay you, monthly or annually. But I don't want that. I want to be paid, and I want to move on to something different. And I know what the something different is. I just
Cool.
that's for 10 years down the road.
Well, but that's, like you said, this can get you to where you want to be. I think
Right.
we probably have similar goals in that regard. I don't know how long I want to continue doing this for, at least 10, 15, 20 years. But
Right.
then again, I think sprinkler systems are still, although a lot of people have them, it's still relatively new industry.
Okay.
I
I
think
wouldn't
right when
have
we were
thought that,
when
really.
we were growing up, right, people had sprinkler systems, but it wasn't like,
common.
it wasn't standard.
No.
Every single new house that's built now comes with one.
Really.
And so, I mean, for the most part, unless
Right.
you're doing like a custom home. So
Right.
there's really, as far as I know, there's not really any national brands. Like in plumbing, right, you've got like, I can name probably 5 or 6 different plumbing companies that are national that everybody knows about. They're
Right.
all over. They've got their trucks, they're in every city, everywhere you go. Irrigation isn't really like that right now. So my goal is to become one of the leading providers in,
Service.
between San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston, that little triangle right there. I want to expand to Dallas, expand to San Antonio, and then whether I decide to sell out or just hire some people to run the business for me
Mm-hmm.
is still up in the air. But I think I've got a very similar goal to you. Like there's other things that I would like to do,
Mhm.
and this is a facilitator for that.
Right.
And so I think, but it's good to have a plan.
Right. So in your industry, it's like with insurance, you open an agency knowing exactly what the industry is, right? You know what the retirement is. You know all these things when you open an agency. When you open something like this, there really is no industry standard, is there? So you're just winging it.
Yeah, I would say that there really isn't. It's for me, being around other business owners who have done it in the service industry
Okay.
has really kind of helped me set up that plan and that goal. But one of the things that you just mentioned is having a system and having people in place to kind of take a lot of the things off of your plate is what's
Right.
important. And from the standpoint of scaling this type of business, right, just like reading Traction, right, putting the right people in the right place. We talked about Gino Wickman's book Traction. Having different people in different, like for example, if someone calls and they have a question about booking an appointment, you've got somebody for that, right?
Right.
If somebody calls about a warranty job, you've got somebody in that position. Parts, sales, marketing, right? There needs to be pieces in place.
For each.
So then if you get to a point where you do want to reach out to private equity or somebody, some sort of venture capitalist to purchase your business, you say, look, I've got these systems in place. All you have to do is plug and play and keep my people happy, and you should be able to continue to operate this business. So that's kind of my short-term goal, is just to create a system where, although I'm always going to have day-to-day operations, oversight, I want to have people in place to do those jobs and put people that, like one of my buddies posted something on Instagram the other day, and he's a lawyer, he owns a big law firm, they do contract law, and he said, just because something is a problem for me that I don't want to handle doesn't mean that there's not somebody else in my organization that wants to do that, right? And so that's kind of my goal. But yeah, I really, 15 years in business, the first 12, 13 were doing landscaping, and I would do anything and everything that came my way. And
That's when you were on 359, right?
Absolutely. February of last year was when we changed our name. Still the same EIN, basically the same business. Nothing has changed other than the services that we provide. But I realized that sprinkler system repairs is a licensed trade, and I can hone
So
in on
what
this.
made you do that? Why did you do that?
13 years of not making any money, basically.
Really?
I mean, we were paying for our lifestyle, but simply paying your bills
It's nothing.
is not. That's not.
That's the easy
You're
part.
like an inch away from failing, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
making profitability, sustainability, and it was the type of people that I've been able to hire. Every one of our team members are licensed, and with a licensed professional, you're going to get a higher quality of
Individual.
employee. Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
sad. I hate that's sad. It's sad that
It
it's
is.
sad. Honestly.
But there's not a lot. The thing is too is there's not a lot of loyalty anymore.
No.
I'm not just talking about my business. I've been very lucky. I have great team members,
Right.
but we also pay. We have a compensation package for our team that's better than the other competitors that I know of in our industry.
Can anyone become a licensed license, what is it? What kind of license?
So there's two different types. Well, there's three different types of licenses in our industry. There's a licensed irrigator,
Right.
which will be like the top level. There's a
Okay.
licensed irrigation technician, which technicians can do everything that an irrigator can do. They just have to work underneath an irrigator.
Okay.
Minus a couple different things, yes. And then there's also the backflow prevention assembly tester. So
Okay.
I have the irrigation license and the backflow prevention assembly tester license. All my team members are licensed irrigation technicians. So there's certain things like I have to pull the permits. When we're doing new installs, there's certain things that I, as the irrigator, the licensed irrigator, have to do. But my team members can do basically everything else because they're working underneath me. And that doesn't mean I physically have to be there.
They're borrowing your license to, or they're working for
They
you. You have the license.
they can operate on their own because I, as the owner, have the license. And
Got it.
I will say this: a lot of our competitors, the owner might be licensed, but all their team members are just laborers. Now that doesn't mean you don't have to have a license, I guess, in theory, to know how to do the job. I've met guys that didn't have a license that were very skilled.
Right.
But having that license, just from a legal standpoint, allows you to do it, right? Like there's nothing in my business. I'm never going to do anything in my business that's going to put us at risk.
Right.
I would never hire somebody from the gas station and pay him cash. I would never send a guy out to do repairs that doesn't have a license, because the liability, although we're just talking about sprinkler systems, we're not talking about insurance policies or roofs or stuff like that, but it's still
But it's your brand.
It's
It's
the
your
brand.
name. It's
Yeah,
your business.
absolutely.
You've worked very hard to get it to where.
But there's a cost that comes with
your
that too.
name, I guess.
There's a cost that comes with that, and the customers who hire us, when we answer the phone, we have a process, and it screens out anybody who's not potentially going to be our customer. So when we get there, we have a pricing sheet. Our guys have very set pricing on everything, and our process, when we answer the phone, we go through our spiel. And in the past, if people didn't want to pay our service fee, I would say, oh, okay, I'll waive the service fee. Well, it's like, but then you end up getting there and you're doing nothing for free. You're doing it for free. So we've had people that have complained before about the price of our services, and just said, well, I understand your perspective. Just let us know if we can help you in the future, right? Because it's like, we got to make money.
Well, you know you're going to get the
money.
job done, and you're going to get it done in a timely manner, and I think that's very hard for the common person to understand when it comes to any business. I don't care any kind of business. You get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
The amount of things people will go through to save is sad, because the job you're going to get from the person that you're paying for this amount of money versus the job you're going to get for the person you're paying for this amount of money, you're talking night and day difference. And the common consumer doesn't really understand that sometimes, because they're just focused on the end goal, right? Like, we just want what we want, and we want it as quickly as we're going to get it, and we want it now, and they don't think about the price difference is so different for a reason.
Yeah.
Well,
if you go to a grocery store, if you go to Target or you go to Kroger or whatever,
think of it as organic foods and boxed foods.
100%.
Hello.
But there's gonna be a set price, right? Like a can of Campbell's soup is gonna cost what it costs across the board, right? Because it is what it is. But with the service business, every company is different. People will ask me sometimes, well, how are you priced compared to your competitors? And it's like, well, I don't really know.
You don't know.
All I know is that we're professional and we have a process, and at the end of the day, we're going to guarantee that the service that we provide is, not only are we going to warranty our work, we're going to stand by our work, but our people are going to explain everything to you and make sure that you understand what you're getting,
right,
and the value. And in my business, I'm not really in the service business. I'm in the time business, like we talked about. Like, most of the stuff that we do, people could do, but they're paying us so they don't have to do it.
Right.
They don't have to get dirty. They don't have to dig the holes.
You're
Absolutely.
convenient.
And so it's very. One thing I was going to say too, and I'm sure you've heard this, and it probably resonates with you as well too. If, let's just say, for example, and I know this to be true because I've seen it with my own business and with other businesses, right? If you go to McDonald's, for example, and you get bad service, they mess up your order, right? You're going to complain, but you're going to go back to McDonald's 2 days later, If you come to me and get service from me, or you get service from Lacy, and something you just don't like the process, well, people are going to go out and, like, for lack of better words, like, shit all over the small business, small business owner, and like make it personal. Which is crazy, because a lot of times I'll have people that they'll give us a hard time about certain things, and I never argue with anybody. I'm never going to put up a fight, but
I hung up on
sometimes some people deserve that, and that's why all of our calls are recorded. Because like, we've had people say that you didn't tell me that, and then we just send them the recording.
Right.
But people will literally fight tooth and nail over a little bit of money, You know, they want to pay, like, what's that? There was a thing going around on Instagram, I think, or Facebook, and it was a guy on the side of the road selling produce.
Okay.
And you know, a woman drives up in her, you know, in her Mercedes Benz with all of her nice stuff on, and the guy's like, you know, it's 12 bananas for $2, and she's like, well, I'll give you $1 for them. And the guy's like, okay, fine, I'll sell you for $1. You know, then they go to Starbucks and pay $12 for a coffee.
Right.
You know, it's like the value should be placed upon the entrepreneur and the small business owner, not, you know, paying twice. Like people say, well, how could you charge that much? Like, you just pay $12 for a coffee that costs
Everyone wants
15
a
cents.
deal, though.
It's crazy, but they know they can't get a deal from the
That's
corporations,
right.
but they want to beat up the small guy. Not always. I mean, we have incredible.
More
customers.
often than not.
It is true.
Don't lie to these good folks on YouTube. I mean, it's reality, and some people need to hear it.
And but it's good, you know. And I always, you know, when I, for example, just speaking personally, when we redid our property, our business property, we bought it, we completely remodeled it.
And you did so good.
Thank you, thank you. I got one quote for the roof. I got one quote for the electric. I got one quote for the plumbing. I got one quote for the HVAC. I got one quote for the fence and one for the gravel. Could I have probably saved money? Probably, but I hired people that I knew that were professional, that did the job the right way. And when my fence guy told me it was gonna be $22,000 for the fence, I was like, okay, it's 800 feet of fence. I said, okay, let's do it. Like, I wasn't, the thought didn't even cross my mind to go try to get it from somebody cheaper. Now, would it have been smart to get 3 or 4 quotes? Probably.
But time is money too.
And I also didn't know 3 or 4 fence guys that I could trust.
Right.
And
right.
my electrician and my plumber, I knew the plumber that did this was going to charge me a little bit more,
Right.
but he'd also been in business for 40 years. And
Right.
I knew him, and he gives me business. But I didn't even ask him to drop his price. That wasn't even a thought, because
Right.
I don't like it when, like, I charge my parents the same price I would charge anybody else.
Right.
Okay, it's this much, this is how much it is. And, you know, sorry, Dad, I love you, but, like, this is our price,
Right.
you know? And if you start cutting deals for people, you know, then it is what it is. Well, is there anything you want to add? We've got another guest coming in here. So,
Can you go back in the kitchen?
we're almost done.
Okay.
She can stay here. We're
Can you
almost
sit on my
done
lap?
here.
Can you say hi?
So this is what you get when you
This
own a
is
small
going.
business. You're supporting a family, somebody local. And so, what would be your ideal client? Somebody, if you were going to speak to the hundreds of people that might watch this video.
Ideal client.
What would be what are you, you know, what would be ideal for you? If people wanted to come work with you. What would be the elevator?
Anyone who, right now everyone's shopping insurance, right? Because everyone's irritated at the costs. Yes, the costs are a terrible thing. It's not fun. I know nobody wants to pay the bill, but I like to pick things apart. I like to say, hey, you know, here's your home. Your home's replacement cost is $600,000. Your home's replacement cost is $600,000, but you have, so in the state of Texas, everything is a like a percentage. So if your home is $600,000, your contents is automatically going to be 60% of that.
Okay.
Sometimes 50. Some carriers are 50. Your other structures are 10. You know, whatever. If you don't need those things, if you don't need 60% contents, if you don't need 10% other structures, you're throwing your money away, right? Essentially, you are.
Yeah.
So I like to say, okay, well, let's save. Let's take your deductibles to whatever you can afford, right? Let's have a personal conversation and let's figure that out. And then let's cut out your contents from, I don't know what 60% of 600,000 is. I'm not a mathematician, but anyways, let's take that down to 30% because that's all you need. Just, you know, pick it apart, find out what suits you best. Insurance is very scary. It's really complicated. If you don't know about it, you really don't want to know about it. Like, just take care of me, right? Those are the kind of clients I want. I don't want someone calling me saying my premium went up 22.1%, and people do that. Literally, people will send me a long email with highlighted and color coded, and my rate went up this amount and this, and I'm like, why? I don't know why. You know, I'm just here to help you. I'm not the bad guy. I don't come up with these rates. I don't put you with the worst carrier. I don't, you know, like, I'm here to help, and I want my clients, only my clients, to know, like, I'm not out to be this bad person in insurance that sometimes people put, right? I'm here to help. Absolutely. So I want the only clients I want are clients that know that, hey, I don't have to worry about it because Lacy's got me.
To sum it up, you want people that want to work with you. You
right.
want people that want to be your customers.
Right. And I love commercial. I love commercial insurance because it is what it is. Anyone that has a commercial policy, they have it because they want to be successful. And it's just, I get a satisfaction knowing that that person trusts me to essentially have a big component of their business. You know, insurance is a big deal when it comes to business, and I like that feeling, right?
Absolutely.
Anybody can go insure a house and a car. That's the
absolutely.
easiest thing in the world, right?
Absolutely.
But when it comes to insuring a business and picking apart all the things that you may or may not need, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, and like you said, it does take a lot of work too, but in 15 years of business, I've been through a lot of different, not necessarily different insurance providers. I really had only worked with one insurance agent before I started working with Lacy, and that other insurance agent was great. Never had any issues whatsoever. I can say though, from a personal experience, working with you has been much easier, and you've really kind of gone above and beyond for us. Now, granted, we have more moving parts now than we did before.
Right.
But we have a commercial property, we have geo, we have all kinds of stuff going on. But and I know it has been easier. There's been points where it's like, okay, here's what we're doing with this property.
Hey, here's what we're doing now, and then 5 minutes later, but this is what we're doing now. Oh wait, no, we're gonna go back the other way.
Oh yeah, we're having
That's
another
Jason.
kid. Now we got to move it. Yeah.
I'm like, what? I thought you just said that. Oh.
Things move fast over here.
But that's any commercial client,
That's
and it keeps me on my toes, and I love a challenge. I've always been that way. I don't like easy. I like a challenge.
Well, if you wanted easy, you would have stuck with what you were doing before, and you wouldn't have taken the big risk. So,
right.
But awesome. Well, this has been great. It's been great to learn about you. I'm glad you came on the podcast. I can say, guys, one last time, if you're looking in business, any business owners out there, if you're looking for a new insurance agent, give Lacy a call. She'd be happy to help you out, and definitely take care of you and go above and beyond for you. So, thanks again for coming on the podcast. It was a great episode, and look forward to seeing you soon. Awesome. Your daughter's